And, it's curated into this event that's coming in November. I'm still in a process right now that is so big and it's stretching me. And I'm feeling like I'm like in the darkest room trying to, walk into this next layer. But I have so much gratitude because I have so much trust that has just, the muscles been built through my experience of learning all of these tools and modalities and gathering tribe and friends of mine who continue to lift me up in the moments that I'm like, this is really scary. And I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, put your crown back on. You've got this. It's okay. And so, it's been beautiful. I've been able to travel all over. I've had really amazing human experiences that always were like doubled or paralleling next to spiritual experiences. So spirit and God have really been like always kind of stepping in, like, this is cool, but then we're going to elevate it here. And this is cool, then we're going to elevate it here. And so part of my mission is just to help other people, and not even just women, because I do have male clients as well, even though primarily they're women, help souls really trigger these catalysts in their own life and figure out, how do I have that day that it's just like someone bought my coffee and then, I got the perfect parking spot and everything's working out for me. And I'm like, it's all a mindset. And, it's just been this mindset journey for me this whole time. And it's a wild ride, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's awesome. So now when you talk about a mindset, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, of course. So, there were two big pieces in my experience that have been really the most stretching for me. One would be my relationships romantically. I realized very quickly that I had a program running about how relationships were supposed to be. And I realized that actually wasn't my truth. And I was trying to push myself into this, the women are the housewives, the women don't really work, and they, just take care of the partner, and the man is the provider, and the man is the one who does this. And once you become a mother, you're in this box and you're a mom, and all that matters is the kids. And I could keep going on and on, right? This has been passed down in my family, in the lineage, and my ancestry. And what I realized was that's not my truth at all. I am here to expand and to show my children, you can travel and have fun and build a business and still take care of you while taking care of a family. And you don't have to have, this structure that's a little, patriarchal in some ways. And it can be whatever you want it to be. And, that is something that is continually stretching me, is romantic relationships are just always like, I'm witnessing, the inner child parts of me and all of that. So, in that respect, one of the things that has been a mindset shift for my romantic relationships was I used to project. I used to constantly kind of be like, well, you're doing this, or you're doing that, or you're triggering me, or you're making me uncomfortable. And it was always just this outward. And then it came the flip of the mirror. And I'm like, what am I doing? That's, where am I uncomfortable? What's coming up? And little baby Brittany and like little inner child Brittany likes to throw tantrums. And we'd become very close. But, my mindset around relationships has really had to become more filled with breath and more pause of just also gratitude. I am navigating right now a separation from a previous partner, and I am just coming into so much gratitude, even saying, thank you for showing me another space that I get to up level. Thank you for showing me another layer that is really uncomfortable for me right now. And so my mindset shift went from projecting to saying it's everybody else, they're doing this and men are this, blah, 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 to wow, like my inner child feels her abandonment coming up really heavy right now. And that means I got to go sit with her. So thank you for that, because she needs my attention. So there's this whole flip of turning it inwards.
Yeah.
And then when it came to being an entrepreneur and starting my own business, that has also been, I think, the second biggest mindset flip for me, because anyone who does entrepreneurship knows that this is like, you are your brand, right? And so as your brand grows, you are going to stretch, you are going to see all of your shadows, all of your fears, all of your upper limits, all of your programs, all of your lack mentality. And you're like, I just want to make money and love what I'm doing. And wow, I'm really scared right now. And so this is like a constant, I don't want to say game because it's not the energy I want to put on it, but it's a consistent illumination for me to really just look at, where am I in my business? Where am I blocking myself? Where do I need to stretch a little more? Where am I not in faith? And for me, it's this constant, everything's working out. Everything's always working out for me. And, affirmations are great, but for me, I really like to ask myself questions like, why is business so amazing? Why are clients flocking to me? Why is everything selling out? And getting more into that, like I'm already in it and I'm just like basking. So, the mindset flip for me also is very much like, how do I hold the frequency, not just like witness, well, this is going on and this is why. That's good to know. And those are foundations, but how do we hold the frequency? Like, how do we really keep it there? And when we slip, how do we get back? So those are kind of the two, I think, mindset pieces for me that are continually the stretches and the growth spaces.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love what you're saying about, well, I always tell clients, act as if, drop into that gratitude. So everything that you're saying, I really echo, because it is such a beautiful way, really, just to approach life. Those people that are in our lives that are the ones that really trigger us are our greatest allies. They're allowing us, they're providing us that opportunity for healing. So yeah, I love what you're saying. So tell us a little bit more about your concepts of dropping in deep with this divine feminine energy.
It's one of my favorites. So, the first piece on my own journey of figuring out who is the divine feminine was starting to figure out, like, where was I, right? I really started getting drawn to embodiment and femininity and really receivership. So I was going through a divorce in 2018 and I was rocked. I was just like, I thought this was my person. We had, the wedding and the baby and like, I did all the things right. And like, why is this not working? While simultaneously, I was also in so much healing and also seeing the why and understanding all the pieces. And I started to realize in my self-reflection of this, that I was actually really unable to receive. And I started then, dissecting all of my old relationships. And I was like, wow, I operated actually super in my masculine. Like I was just constantly in the masculine state. It was not like receiving and sitting back and like being in my body. I was like, action, let's go. We have to do this. And, I really sat with, that's not my truth. That's not what I want. I want to be able to receive and be witnessed and celebrated and taken care of. And I know I can also be in the masculine when I need to be. And so for me, I really started digging into like playing with receiving. And this is one of the first things that when we do divine feminine, the first two pillars are you more in your masculine, more in your feminine? 99% of my people that come to me are in their masculine. And then they're like really seeing all the places that they're in their masculine. And they're like, wow, I didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, let's meet the feminine. She's waiting. She's right here. So, they're like, well, how do I do that? I'm like, let's start with receiving. Like, how do you feel about receiving? How do you feel about someone being like, I know the dishes need to be done. I know dinner needs to be made. I know the kids' lunches need to be packed. Like, why don't you just go sit down and like, let me handle that? And most of the answers are, well, they're not going to do it right. So I just need to do it. And like, we don't need, and I'm like, okay, so we're not receiving very well here. Right. And then we go into, after we talk about receiving, we go into your body. And I'm like, how do you feel in your body? How do you feel about your body? What do you say about your body in the mirror to yourself? And so then we get into that whole emotional space, because as females, right? And I think this is a male thing too, but as females, we have so many things shoved in our face, whether it's social media, magazines, celebrities, like you got to be super skinny, or you got to have all these perfect curves, you have to be this. And it's like, or we're just beautiful, perfect beings the way that we are. And we're going to learn to love these meat suits that we agreed to come into. So, then we get into the body. So for me, my practice every day before I even get out of bed I wake up, and as soon as I am conscious, I'm like, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for? What am I asking to receive today? What am I going to give myself? And then I just tune into my body, and I like to do body scans. So I'll start at my head and just kind of scan like what's feeling tense in my body? Where am I feeling resistance? What's feeling light? What's feeling dense? And just no judgment, just like checking, seeing what's going on. I am a mother of two, a single mother of two. So that's normally as far as I can get most mornings before I do have to like get up and move. If I have the time, on my like no kid moments, I do actually do active clearing in that space. And once I get the kids off to school, I actually come back and I'm always doing movement. So one of the other pieces as feminine is that we move trauma as we move our bodies. So even like I'll be standing in the grocery store line, and if I start to get like anxious or start to feel tight in my body, I'll just stand there and like shake and like move my body around. And I'm like, just clearing it out, just making the space. And it's just this beautiful connection. I think when you start to come into that feminine, you start to drop in that you're like, I actually don't care what's going on around me. I don't care what anybody thinks. I am just fully taking care of this vessel right here. And I'm tuned in. So, I think it's Abraham Hicks says, I'm tuned in, tapped in, turned on. One of my favorite. I'm like, yep. Are we checking those boxes today? If so, our feminine is doing well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I see that we have primarily, or maybe all women with us today. So I might start our questioning early to see if women have some questions for you about, just some things that come up around them and their perceptions or their needs and desire to move that trauma out of the body. Okay. So does anybody have like a burning question or a comment that they want to share to get some words of wisdom about? Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Hey, good. I do have a question. I was told I have a lot of the tension in my hips, like the groins. Like when you get done standing, you gotta like stretch it out, but I haven't been able to move that energy out. So I don't know if you guys had any suggestions.
Yes. So do you do movement during the day at all?
I do move, but it's not like I'm dancing or yoga or anything like that.
Yes. So, one of the biggest, I think, releases, especially for that part of your body, is literally like hip rolls, like swaying hips back and forth, really getting into like figure eights in your hips, and also making sure that as you're doing them, you're kind of in like a squat a little bit. So you can really like feel the edges and stretch, and it's going to feel so silly and so weird at first. And, I actually, in my containers, I make everybody get up on Zoom when we're together, and I'm like, we're doing this, and I don't care how silly you feel, like you need to feel it. And then we'll get into, playing with music and letting the emotion that's stuck there move. So I would, in one hand, tell you to practice just getting kind of low into your body and like moving those hips, but also getting curious about what is it that's stuck there? And is there a kind of music or a flavor of music that may help stretch that out? So a lot of times in that space, that's like almost grief to root into your truth is what it comes up as a lot. And this is like a little like tune in, I guess, to your energy. So take what resonates. You're very powerful. And there is a lot of, I know that I'm powerful. I lead with my heart, but there's not a grounding. It's getting stuck right there in that space. And you're like, well, I'm just going to let it simmer here, but it wants to like move through your body and it wants to ground. So you can be like, yes, this is the power. So, in one hand, I feel like there's some grief that could be released in that. And then in the other hand, there's like empowerment that could come through. So maybe playing with some of that and finding some music that feels really good to just getting in movement to. The other thing is tapping really helps as you're doing movement. So like tapping here, tapping anywhere on your body that feels like, ooh, that really needs to get moved, and just be slow. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, start to tune in to what your body's trying to tell you as you're in those spaces. And sometimes you'll start to move I'll do movement some days and I literally will curl up on the floor and cry because there's just so much that's coming through and I'm like really, overwhelmed with all the emotion, and I just let myself be there. And that's being in your feminine. It's just allowing it to be like, okay, well, we got some of that out today. Now we're just going to get a good cry and then we're going to get up and make our coffee and keep going.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
I hope
welcome.
that helps, Tracy.
It resonates definitely. So I'll do the fancy moves on the ground.
There you go. You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Kathy, you got a question?
Yeah, I like everyone else, I do a lot of work and I've cleared a lot of things, but I've had something going on in my right shoulder on and off for like 37 years now. And I do exercise every day, and I do like a combination of Pilates and some yoga, and then also I have from the past like physical therapy exercises I always incorporate, to keep the back strengthened, etc. So, and I'm always moving, and I like music, but I can't really like dance like I used to. I'm in a little apartment again here. But this thing going on in my right shoulder, it comes and goes, and I'm beginning to think that the more emotional issues that come up when I'm triggered with immediate family or the son's wife, I'm getting it's really horrible, and I don't know how to get rid of it. I just don't. So I don't know if you can help or tell me what I need to do to help clear that, or what you see would be great.
So I have a question.
Okay.
How do you feel like you do with boundaries in your life?
It's always been a problem. I'm actually been trying to set some boundaries with my son's wife, but I feel like I'm kind of held hostage because I have a granddaughter, to keep myself quiet. But no, it's always been an issue. That's why I had a lot of abuse and trauma in the past.
Yeah, I saw a lot. It's like, as you were speaking, it was like the right is your masculine, right? So it's like
Right.
your body on your right side is telling you you're masculine. And as soon as you were speaking, it was like your arm doesn't even want to extend and be like, this is my boundary, do not cross it, because this is where I stand here. And I also totally have so much compassion for the grandkid thing, because I can only imagine that is like hard. But what it feels like is that it's this kind of like, it's like higher self you being like, hey, like we really do have to like kind of draw lines in the sand at some point, because you're worth having respect. You are an amazing being who has done a lot of work, but also there is this like really deep yearning. And it's a part of what I'm hearing you came here for, was to really learn how to set the boundary.
Right.
And it's, even like I see it coming up a little bit like into your throat chakra, like you don't
Speak.
you know how to speak the truth, but you choose to silence yourself. So it's like your arm is like staying here, like don't talk, don't reach, just like stay here, stay protected. This is safe. And I do feel a lot of like trauma and inner child coming up of like, we don't go past this because that's not okay and that's not safe. So what I do here or feel like might help that is maybe even, I don't know if you've ever had like myofascial work done with anyone who does energy work, but that is an amazing experience. And I think going in with intention into any work that you do around that, and just finding the way to find safety in your boundary and your voice, I really think that will dissipate, because it's not like the mobility because you're doing movement. It's actually an energetic like pin in your shoulder that's like, this wants to come out.
Yeah, I feel like it's worse when I've experienced like, interaction that is not good for me. And yeah, it's like I said, and it's terrible, especially when I'm driving.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So you said myofascial energy work? Is that what you said?
Yes. Myofascial. So it's
Fascial, okay.
M-Y-O,
I know.
yeah.
Facial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There is a practitioner here that I go to. She's actually a good friend of mine. And after I had my son, I was having really bad pains. There was a lot of trauma in the relationship and the birth.
Right.
But she actually got in and started doing some energy work with the myofascial. And we did 2 sessions. And the only time that pain comes back is specifically when I am overexerting, like killing myself for something that I should not be. So it feels like this is something that will be able to move and lift. And the only time you're going to get that little like ping is just the reminder, you know? And I'm also hearing like, you're going to be really safe to find a way to be respected and have a boundary with your son's wife. Is that right?
Yes.
You guys have an interesting contract that is interesting. So there's a lot of illumination happening, but she's actually helping you see that this is actually able to go and you're able to be safe. Like I don't see anything happening that you're not going to be able to see, like your grandkids or anything like that. But it's scary. So, you know, it's like I said earlier, like stepping into those dark places and you're like, I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm just going to do what's best for me and know that it's going to work out.
Okay, so I need to look for somebody who does a myofascial work here. Okay, I'm in California, so I'll.
You will find.
Yeah, I have a couple of things I can look. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We do have a question from the audience. Heidi wants to know if you could repeat how you tune into your body and the scans that you're doing, because she joined a little late and she'd like to hear that again.
Yeah, of course. So, the easiest way, and there's lots of different ways that I can explain this, but I would say the easiest way is that I imagine like a beam of light that's going horizontally, starting to scan down my body. And I go pretty slow and I'll just tune into, okay, where am I feeling like here? Where am I feeling here? And as I'm kind of guiding down my system, I'm just kind of witnessing and not judging. And that takes practice in itself, just the art of kind of allowing yourself to witness what's happening. You know, when I have a lot of grief, will have a ton of energy in my heart space. So I'll get here and then I'll start to be like all wrapped up in all these grief things. And I'll have to come back in and be like, nope, like breathe that out, keep going. Like what else needs to be witnessed today? And the reason to kind of do this scan and just take note is that once you know, okay, my heart feels heavy today, my womb feels like triggered today, my feet feel kind of weird and dangly today. Then when you go into doing movement or getting into, you know, getting up for your day, you know where you're out of alignment. You know where it needs to be corrected, where needs the emotion, the tapping, the movement, the energy. And so that's like the most simple way. If you want to kind of 2.0 this, I also like to check my feminine and masculine. So I'll close my eyes and I'll imagine pulling all of my energy to my left side. And I'll see how far does it stretch? How comfortable does it feel? Do I feel safe? Am I feeling timid? And noticing like where I'm at with my left, which is my feminine. And then I'll pull it back in the center and then I'll come over to my masculine. And this is a wild thing to do because it's always different. Like every day is a little different. And it also will tell you like, where am I a little maybe out of balance? What do I need to adjust or shift? And there's all sorts of like protocols that you can do, you know, once you have all of this noted. And also, you know, there's lots of different ways to do this too. So I hope that answers your question, but that's like 101 body scan.
Awesome. And could you also define for people when you're discussing movement, are you talking about exercises? Are you talking about stretches, Pilates, dances?
All of it, whatever your body feels good in. For me, you know, movement for me is I've always danced my whole life. So dance is just what makes my heart really happy. It's where I move my energy the best. So I have playlists. I have like grief playlists. I have happy playlists. I have, you know, boss energy playlists. And so I'm like, what am I needing today? And I'll blast music or I'll put in my AirPods. Bonus if I can get out in the earth, like at a park or in my backyard and get grounded. And I just move and it's whatever I need. Sometimes I'm shaking parts of my body. I'm tapping where it fell out of alignment. I'm moving my hips more. Sometimes I'm like slamming the ground in a really like tribal energy because I'm needing to get energy out. So for me, it's dance. I have some clients who they are, you know, professional ballerinas. So they get really professional with it. I have some clients who love yoga. So they just pull out their mat and they do yoga. Some people just stretch and do more like light kind of flowy movements. I think it's there is no wrong answer, right? It's yes and, like, what works for you. And I just think it's super important to move. Some people like running. I have a client who her movement is running, and that's where she connects with her body. It's where she connects with herself. It's where she puts everything back in the pavement. So find your flavor.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, you know, a lot of people are talking about that this has been a super hard year for them. They've just been hit from all types of angles, and they feel like they're really scattered. So for people who are looking to really pull that energy back in and anchor it, do you have some suggestions for them?
Oh, of course. And this year's it's been a stretch. I can totally relate to that. I think grounding is one of just like the baseline things that always helps me. Like, I don't know any client who, when they're like, I'm scattered, and I'm like, go put your feet in the ground, 10 minutes, just get your phone away from you, go stand in the ground. So I think getting in the earth is huge, or even just walking, hiking, getting in the forest, whatever it is, sitting by a tree. I think grounding is like one of the biggest things, because we have these phones with us all the time, and these phones are emitting frequencies all the time that sometimes we just need to unplug from. So, my first advice is, can you put things on airplane mode? Can you leave your phone somewhere? Can you just get in the ground? Can you go get in the forest for a moment? And the other piece is, I do think that having support of some kind is really, really imperative. And I think going forward into what I feel energetically is even coming over these next couple of years, we need each other. Like, more than ever, we need each other. So, if you're more of an inward type and you like online communities, I mean, here we are, right? There's so many different ways to do this. Or if you need actual physical community, I just invite all of my people. I'm like, find your community, find your tribe of people, because they are going to be what supports you and pulls you up and celebrates you and witnesses you. And it's kind of that reminder too of like, you're not alone. Like, so many of us have had really rough year this year, and there's so much beauty and growth that's happening too. And I think when you have those people around you who can reflect like, yeah, this is hard, but like, look how far you've come, or look how you're reacting to this, right? It's that beautiful mirroring that gets to happen when you have people around you. So, grounding, finding your tribe and your circle. And, I also think some sort of a practice of connection. Some people are like, I'm connected with the universe, God, spirit, self, whoever you're connecting with. I think finding and forming that sort of a connection and allowing yourself to also process in a way. So whether it's journaling or singing or whatever it might be, I think that also finding the channel. All of us are channels. All of us get information. And if that information isn't coming out in some way, it's just getting stuck and spinning, and it needs to come out. So, I think if you can go outside, you can sit in the grass, barefoot by a tree, you can even like have a friend, have a conversation, you can write in your journal, you can meditate. I don't know any other like foundational pieces that I could tack onto that right now, but that is, I think, the like main foundation. And if you're doing that and you're still like, but I'm doing these things and I still feel like everything's crazy and I can't figure it out, you've got to stretch further, because you've used your tools that and now we have to accelerate and leap into a different version of this. And so maybe no longer it's that you're just sitting outside. Maybe you're starting to communicate more with your higher self, with angels, with teams. Maybe you need a mentor to actually figure out, like, in your own space, like, what is going to help you keep like leaping. Because the thing is, we're all changing. We're not the person we were an hour ago, much less who we were 6 months ago or a year ago. The way that we used to do things is not going to work anymore. And with the planet right now and the frequencies that we are very quickly up leveling into, old ways are not going to work. So you're going to get called up, you're going to get called into new expanded spaces, which is beautiful. But I think having those foundations, and then if those aren't working, how do I stretch them? How do I up level them? How do I, come into that next space where there's the breath of like, okay, that's what I needed,
Great. Now, we talked about a lot of your women clients that come to you, you find are operating in their masculine. So what about those men who are totally in their masculine? How can they begin to incorporate and anchor in their divine feminine?
Oh, this is a good question. Thank you for asking this. So, we have.
Okay, Gary, listen, here we go. I see Gary on here. So I was like, oh, wait a minute. We got Gary on here. We got to talk about the guys too.
We got a masculine in the house. So, it's interesting because there have been so many programs that I think are unwinding as we speak, but they're still very implanted in a lot of men, whether it was, how they were raised, what they witnessed as a man. A lot of the beliefs were like cowboy up, right? Like, we don't cry, men don't cry, we don't show emotion, that's weak, right? It's just all this like anti-feminine energy, pretty much is what it was. And now what we're witnessing, though, is that there are so many men who are depressed, anxious, feeling disconnected. They can't connect with their partner because they don't even know how to connect with themselves. They're frustrated. They are, a slew of other emotions. And really what's needing to happen is that they just need a space to be able to be seen and witnessed and held that is soft. And, as much as I see like the feminine rising and like females right now really bringing our power back online, I'm like, we cannot forget about the males. We can't forget about the masculines because they also have huge mission here. So with my male clients that I've worked with, the first question I ask is, what do you feel within you is feminine? Like, how do you receive? How do you drop into your body? How do you take care of yourself? How do you nurture yourself or your children or your partner? And it's most of the time silent on the other line because the answer tends to be, well, I kind of grew up in a house that, like we didn't have emotion and like that wasn't really a thing. And well, I buy her flowers or I do this, and it's like, that's all great. Those gestures are fine. But the ability that a man has to get vulnerable is beautiful. And I know it is scary. And I know it is something that like feels really uncomfortable for a lot of men. But I will tell you, as a feminine, to have a masculine get vulnerable and be like, this actually really scares me, I think is the most amazing and beautiful thing for a masculine to admit, because I know how much programming they have to get on top of just to even say those words. And then to even speak from their heart and state what they want, what they need, what they see. So I think in one hand, it's having the space for them to be witnessed. And then the other piece is, getting curious, like, where in your life do you really feel like you are receiving what you want and need? Where do you feel like you're nurturing yourself and partners, kids, relationships? And how do you feel about your body? What are you doing about your body? How are you taking care of your body? And this all it's the same thing. It's just flipping it in for the masculine, and there are so many masculines that are working really hard right now to do the work and to wake up and to deprogram all of these beliefs that have been implanted, in the masculine. And it's beautiful. And I am constantly, every time I see or talk to or experience a masculine who is vulnerable and just really with me when I'm, in a conversation, I'm just like, thank you. It feels so refreshing to have a masculine be in his body and be present. And you can feel it. It's palatable when you meet someone doing the work. So, to any masculines that are even watching this on replay, if you've been feeling that urge of wanting to be able to cry in front of your partner, wanting to be able to say things that maybe are scary for you, I am just inviting you to just do it. Like we were talking about earlier on one of these other questions, there's so much gold in that dark space that you're I have no idea what happens when I do that. It's there's so much breakthrough when you just get to be authentic and speak your truth, whatever that is. It's a lot.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let me go ahead and open up again for another question. Does anybody else have a question? You know what, Pat? I'd like to ask your opinion. Yep, I'm talking to you, Pat. Yeah, hi. I want to bring you up just a minute. And, I know you come to a lot of the shows. I've seen you on the Global Peace Tribe, and I've seen you here, and I've kind of witnessed how, you have been moving and growing even with these shows. And I'm just wondering, for you, from your perspective and your life experience, what are you seeing happening with the divine feminine right now?
Well, I guess it's unique for each individual
Uh-huh.
to process this shifting we're going through, this healing process we're going through.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thanks. I just wanted to kind of get your opinion, because I always see you sitting there smiling and engaged. So thanks for sharing with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy being with all of you. It's wonderful.
Great. Thanks for being here, hon.
It's nice to share in a group community,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Love seeing Pat's beautiful face here. All right.
Hello
That's
there.
Yeah.
Hi,
So,
Brittany.
Garney,
Sorry, I had my hand up. Sorry.
that's okay. I just don't say, oh, Stone, hey, come on up.
Okay, you were talking about grounding. You're talking about re-energizing, I do a lot of that anyway. I did. Re-establishing my surroundings, like you've got plants surrounding you. Some people don't do much movement, and one of the things I found is you don't have to do a lot of movement. You just have to stand there and sway just a little bit. All you're doing is changing your frequency, rebalancing your frequency throughout your entire system. Before you know it, you'll be just like getting into it. Okay,
You'd be rocking it, huh?
yeah. And as for land grounding, if you can't walk around bare feet and stuff, go stick your feet in a puddle. You did it when you were a kid. Do it now. This is realignment. Our blood vessels and everything. We're completely a sensory, organ. We resonate, we pick up the frequencies that we're surrounded in. So if you want to pick up your frequencies, you surround yourself with what makes you feel boom,
Yes.
the having the plants around you, they communicate with you after a period of time. I mean, I've got a little gem who I've been babysitting for the last 15, 20 years. And it's like, it's never going to get any bigger, but just the little actions that we do in caring for nature around us. When we do that, we're also communicating with our inner higher selves. We're doing for them as we are doing for ourselves. So I love this divine feminine thing. I'm still can't even say it right. Where have I been? But there's so many aspects of it, and just don't ever give up on yourself. We are absolutely amazing creatures. We are so much more than we've been led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I love the positivity, the radiance, the journeys that everyone shares. So thank you, Brittany.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I love my plants. I am not as good of a plant mother as I want to be, but these babies back here are doing great. The learning process. Wonderful. I did see a question come up in the chat.
Okay.
How to balance the requirements to get things done while being in feminine receiving mode? This is a really good question. So I like to call it the dance between the feminine and masculine within you. And for me, I am a very flow state person, meaning structure and I are not always best friends. And if I make myself a schedule, my inner rebel's like, burn that. We're not doing that today. We're going in our own space. So I have really learned to love this flow state of my own. But for me, being a flow person, not as much a structure, I do like lists. And so for me, I like to create like a master list of what I need to do, like for the week or for the day. And then I'll go in and say, like, what am I going to accomplish today? So my masculine is getting the action of a few things getting accomplished, but my feminine is also going to kind of lead the way because that's what feels most organic for me. So today, for instance, I had to run by IKEA and pick up stuff for the house. And then I also needed to drop some things off at the post office. And I was like, those are my 2 check marks that are definitely going to get done. The rest of this stuff is just like, if we get there, we get there. So I started my day and like did the first task, which was the biggest one, which was hitting IKEA. And I really allowed myself to like be in my space and my flow. I ended up leaving with much more than I needed to, but it all wanted to come home with me. And then I kind of just honored, like, what do I need? I went and got myself a matcha. I sat and I scrolled through my favorite TikTok inspirational people for a moment. I made some content. And then I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go to the post office, and went and did that. So for me, that was my, like, I'm going to step in my masculine and do what I need to, but I'm also going to nurture myself. I also got out and I did get grounded. I got in the earth today. And that was kind of like my balance for today. Now, if you are maybe working a little more of a structure, I always say you have to find the pockets of the dance with the feminine. So if you are in kind of go mode in your structure, or you're working more of kind of a desk type of job, or even not even desk, but just like a job that you're having to do certain things, where are you going to allow your feminine to be today? So if from 9 until 4, you have to be in work mode and that's very masculine for you, that's okay. But then from 4 until bedtime, where are we putting some ritual? Where are we putting some movement? Where are we going to sit and honor what our body might need? Maybe we need a really warm shower or a salt bath, or maybe we need to make a meal that makes us feel really connected to our body and it nourishes us. You know, they don't have to be extravagant. For me, the feminine is really about ritual, like really something that, not something, things that feel very ritualistic for me. For me, I really love ceremonial grade matcha. Like I sit and commune with that drink and I just put my intentions into it and I send it gratitude and it just nourishes me in a way that lights me up. For me, it's also getting out in the earth and dancing, salt baths, buying myself really beautiful flowers that I get to look at every day, getting yummy smelling candles. So, you know, they can be like little things, but I think just making sure that you're even being conscious of it. So it's not like, oh, wow, I've been going at work for the past week and I've done nothing for myself. Find where you can dance a little bit and like, where can my feminine come out and play today? And where is she maybe not able to play as much? I hope that answers your question.
Beautiful. I love all these comments. People are really dropping into their gratitude. I like no excuses. That's good. Great, great, great. Okay. Gosh, I can't believe our hour is almost up here. Let's see. There are a couple things I do want to ask you. First off, if you will please, again, tell people about your courses, your website, etc.
Yes.
And then I want you, if there's anything at all that I have not asked you about that you really want to share with people, if you could go ahead and share that first, and then tell everyone about your courses.
Yes. Oh, goodness. This has been wonderful. I feel like we've had so many great questions. Anything else? I guess just a little note to anyone who is curious about the journey of divine feminine, of really identifying like, what is my feminine? What is my masculine? I would really, first of all, congratulate you for even reaching the level of self-reflection and responsibility of your experience to even want to know these things, because this is an expansive journey. And don't stop searching for what works for you. There is a different flavor for everybody when it comes to how their feminine works, how their masculine works. And, even like the programming around what is feminine, right? Most people come into my programs and they're like, well, the feminine is, goddessy, and she's in a white dress and she's got long hair and she's wearing red lipstick. And I'm like, well, that's very much, like Greek goddess feminine. But there are also feminines who are warrior, who are, not necessarily in the dresses, and it's an embodied emotion, and it's an embodied energy that you can have in a t-shirt and sweatpants just as much as you can have in a little black dress and heels. So it's really like knocking down all of the belief systems that you might already carry and just getting curious and figure out how you feel you can receive, and it feels really good, and you can nurture yourself while also doing what you need to do and getting things done and honoring that masculine. I think that is, the biggest message that I would want to leave with everybody is just don't stop until you find the dance that feels so good for you that you just are excited every day to dance in your own little field that you've created. Yeah. Going on past that, if you guys would like to find anything else about me, work with me, my website is BrittanyRenee.com. We are still working and uploading with all of the rebranding. So there are a couple links that may or may not be working, but my email is on there as well. You guys can contact me. Right now, we are actually just now signing up for Divine Feminine Embodiment Group, the next one that I'm leading. It's 6 months long. So if anybody wants to jump into that, this is not just for women. We have mainly women in there, but masculines are never going to be turned away if you guys want to also learn about it. So that's kind of the next big offer of a group is we do have an embodiment group. It's going to be 6 months long. They're amazing. We meet and do a lot of one-on-one coaching, and you get to meet amazing other beings who hold you together. We have a group that you guys get to stay in contact the whole time, and then I'll be in there too. And then in November 11th and 12th, I have the Brittany Renee Experience. It's going to be 2 days, full immersive in New York. We are doing everything from sound healing, Reiki, quantum hypnosis to energy work, movement, embodiment. What is the feminine? Where am I blocked? Where am I sitting? It's going to be amazing. It's me and 2 other amazing practitioners. We are going to be launching the tickets and all of that soon, but in my website, you guys can actually find the link to get added on the wait list. So you guys will get the first emails that are shot out about the event tickets. And past that, I will be opening up my books for one-on-one. I only have a couple spots for this year. And all you need to do is do a consultation. If you guys go on to TikTok, I'm that babe B. You can find my link tree there, or the Brittany Renee also on Instagram and on YouTube. And I think that's it.
And soon on the Conscious Awakening Network.
I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes. And I'll be on here too. Actually, Monday mornings. So it'll be the opposite of you.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, you'll get to catch Brittany either live or on the replay, sharing a lot of her divine wisdom with us. That'll be fun. I have to throw out too that next month, Miss Stone is going to be my co-host. And so we're in the process of lining up our speakers. So, be sure to check us out again on Monday. And for those of you who were with us all during the month of February, you know that Michelle Anderson was my co-host, and we interviewed and talked with a lot of the people who were going to be involved in the Sunfire Festival. And I have just come back, sunburn and all, got here just in time. I'm like, oh, bad hair day, but I got here just in time to share with you guys tonight. But it was absolutely phenomenal. They're talking about maybe changing the date next year. If so, you should definitely check it out. There were great speakers. There were ceremonial fires. There were elders, ceremonies, outstanding music, lots of good hugs and fellowship. And you know, when you go to a place like that, you really are just meeting your tribe, meeting your soul family. And so it's really, it was really heartwarming to be there. And it was everything that we were hoping that it would be. So by mid-September, we'll have all that footage complete, and you'll be able to watch that on the Conscious Awakening Network. So this was one of the first jobs of our film crew, to head out down there and to get some of these magical moments. So speaking of magical moments, I think we had quite a few here tonight with Miss Brittany Renee. If you guys joined us late, you can always catch us on the replay, or I'll be putting this, it'll be on YouTube. So wherever you find it, great, check it out. And until we are all back together again next week, I want to say namaste. Brittany, much love to you. Thank you for all your time to be here, all the beautiful knowledge that you shared, and much love to everyone that was here in the audience. So much love, everybody. And until next week, namaste. Have a great week.